They came home believing the war was behind them, but the silence waiting at the gates felt worse than any battlefield. The wind moved through the empty fields like it was whispering a secret no one wanted to say out loud. Jamie Fraser stopped his horse first. His eyes scanned the land he once bled for. Nothing looked destroyed, but nothing looked alive the same way either. Beside him, Claire said nothing. She didn't need to. She could feel it too. That strange weight in the air, like the land remembered something they had forgotten. And then Jamie spoke quietly. "This is not the home I left." Claire stepped down from the horse and touched the wooden fence. It was repaired, but not by familiar hands. The nails were different. The structure slightly changed. Small things, but enough to make her stomach tighten. People started appearing near the settlement. Not welcoming, not hostile, just watching. A child ran past them and stopped for a second, staring at Jamie like he was a stranger, then ran away again. Claire turned slightly toward Jamie. "Someone has changed this place while we were gone." That night, inside the hall, the fire burned low. Faces gathered, but no warmth followed. Dougal Mackenzie stood first. "You left us to survive on our own," he said. "And we did." Jamie's eyes stayed steady. "I left to protect this place." Dougal laughed. "Once cold, sharp, and yet it feels less protected than ever." That was the moment tension entered the room like a blade. Silent at first, then slowly cutting through every glance, every breath. Laguerre Mackenzie watched from the side. Her eyes never left Jamie, not for a second. There was history there, not spoken, not healed, just buried under time. Claire noticed it immediately, and then Claire saw someone else. Frank Randall, not physically, but in memory. In the way Jamie paused when certain names were mentioned. In the way silence sometimes felt heavier than words. A life that could have been. A path that never died. And that made everything more dangerous, because in a place already breaking, even memories could become weapons. Outside, Lord John Grey arrived without warning. Polite, calm, too calm. He offered support, supplies, protection, but Jamie did not trust easy kindness anymore. "Why now?" Jamie asked him. Lord John only replied, "Because something is coming, and you are all standing in its path." That same night, Claire found Mary Hawkins sitting alone near the fire. Mary's hands were shaking. "I remember things I should not remember," she whispered. Claire sat beside her. "What things?" Mary looked up slowly. "Things that were taken from me, and things that were never told to you." Claire felt a cold shift inside her chest. Not fear, not anger, uncertainty, because uncertainty was always the first sign of collapse. At the edge of the settlement, Roger Wakefield arrived days later. He carried news of the future, not prophecy, consequence. "If you stay divided," he said, "this place will not survive." "What's coming?" No one answered him, because everyone already knew the truth. They were not preparing for war outside. They were already losing the one inside and far beyond the hills. A shadow moved. Comte Saint-Germain did not need to be seen to be felt. His influence was already inside conversations, already inside mistrust, already inside fear. And when fear enters a home, it never leaves quietly. The second night after Jamie's return did not feel like night at all. It felt like something was waiting for them to make a mistake. The fire inside the hall was weaker now, not because wood was missing, but because trust was. Jamie sat at the head of the table, but it no longer felt like a place of authority. It felt like a place under judgment. Dougal Mackenzie was the first to break the silence again. "You walk in here like nothing changed," Dougal said, eyes sharp. "But everything changed when you left." Jamie didn't react fast. That calm was not peace. It was control. "What exactly changed?" Jamie asked. Dougal leaned forward. "People stopped believing anyone was coming back for them." That line stayed in the air longer than it should have. Claire noticed how a few heads nodded quietly. Not agreement with Dougal, but agreement with pain. Claire watched everything carefully now. Not just words, but reactions. That was where truth usually hid. Laguerre Mackenzie finally spoke, her voice soft but poisoned with memory. Some of us remember who stayed and who didn't. The room shifted instantly. Jamie's jaw tightened slightly. Not anger. Something older. Something buried. Claire understood in that moment. This wasn't only about leadership. It was about wounds that never healed, and someone was pressing on them on purpose. Outside the hall, wind hit the wooden walls harder, like it was trying to get inside. Lord John Grey stood near the entrance, speaking quietly with a guard. His presence was calm again, but Claire no longer trusted calmness, because calm people did not appear when everything was falling apart. They appeared when someone wanted to control it. Inside the settlement, whispers were growing. Jamie is not the same man. Claire brought change with her. Dougal should lead instead, and every whisper sounded like it was planted, not grown. That night, Claire found Jamie alone outside. The sky was dark, but not empty. It felt full of unseen pressure. "You see it too," Jamie said without looking at her. "Yes," Claire replied. "But it's not only anger, it's organized." Jamie finally turned to her. "You think someone is guiding it?" Claire hesitated. "I think someone already has been." A silence followed that was heavier than the wind. Then Jamie said something. Low, Sandringham, just the name made the air feel colder. Far away from them, unseen by any eyes in the settlement, Comte Saint-Germain stood in a dimly lit room speaking to no one directly. But his message was clear. "Let them divide themselves," he said softly. "A united family is hard to break. A broken one falls alone." And with that, the pressure inside the settlement increased without a single sword being drawn. The next morning brought a new arrival, a man named Danton. He did not ask for permission. He did not announce purpose. He simply entered the settlement like someone who already owned part of it. And when he spoke, his voice was not political. It was dangerous. "I'm here for what was taken," he said. No one understood what he meant. But Jamie understood one thing. Immediately, this was not a negotiation. This was a countdown. Claire met Mary Hawkins again near the well. Mary looked worse, like something inside her was slowly breaking free. "I saw them," Mary whispered. "Saw who?" Claire asked. Mary's eyes filled with fear. "The ones who made the old decisions? The ones who changed what you think is true?" Claire felt her breath slow. "Mary, what are you saying?" But Mary stepped back. "I am saying your home was never safe. It was only hidden." That same afternoon, Roger Wakefield returned briefly, carrying urgent news. "They are moving closer," he warned. "Not just rumors, real movement. Armed presence near the border." Jamie finally stood. Then we, "Prepare." But Dougal stepped in. "Immediately! You don't give orders here." "Anymore," he said. The room went silent. Claire looked at both men and understood the worst part. The enemy outside was not the immediate danger anymore. The enemy inside already had voices and opinions and support. That night ended with no resolution, only separation. Jamie and Claire stayed together. But even that felt fragile now, because truth had not arrived yet. It was still coming, and when it did, it would not ask permission to destroy everything they believed was home. What just unfolded in this first chapter is not a story of enemies outside the walls. It is a story of something far more dangerous, a home that no longer recognizes its own people. Jamie Fraser returned thinking the worst was behind him, but what he walked into was not peace, not safety, not family. It was a system already cracking from the inside. Claire saw it first, the silence that wasn't empty, but full of hidden meaning. Dougal Mackenzie didn't just challenge leadership. He challenged memory itself. Laguerre didn't just bring emotion. She brought old pain that never truly died. And Frank Randall, even as a shadow of thought, became proof that the past never stays buried when truth is avoided. But the most dangerous part was not any single person. It was how easily trust started to break. Because in a place like this, you don't need war to destroy unity. You only need doubt. And now that doubt has entered every corner of this settlement. Lord John Grey arrived with help. But even help now feels suspicious. Mary Hawkins carries a truth she cannot fully speak. Roger Wakefield warns of consequences no one wants to accept. And somewhere in the distance, forces like the Duke of Sandringham and Comte Saint-Germain are already shaping outcomes without ever stepping forward. And now the question is no longer what is happening outside. The real question is, who inside this family is still telling the truth? Because when survival begins to depend on loyalty, even love starts to feel like a risk. This is only part one of the story. Everything you just witnessed is the beginning of collapse, not the collapse itself. In part two, the truth buried beneath this settlement will start to rise. And when it does, some bonds will not survive what is revealed. So now tell me, if you were in Jamie's place, would you protect your family's unity, even if it meant ignoring the truth? Or would you risk everything just to know what really happened in your absence? For the full story, watch part 2.